This is Smiles TV. Welcome to Smiles Television Talk Show. Thank you for tuning in. We have a different kind of broadcast for you today. We are presenting to you three hearts with one agape purpose. The three of us, Valerie Young on my right, who is a veteran, and we thank God for her and her service. And on my left-hand side is Miss Frances Trujillo. And she is a photographer, she's a mother, and she does so much more. We're going to share with you how to keep your families together, some of the problems that we have parenting, talk about friendships, and just a host of things. You don't want to miss this broadcast. Remember, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin. He was crucified and buried, and he rose on the third day. Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, and thou shalt be saved. Stay tuned for more Smiles.
Hi, I'm Edie B. Anderson for Smiles TV. Join this roundtable discussion with three hearts with one agape purpose. These three ladies discuss everything from healthy parenting, female friendships, relationships, to bridging the gap between generations. Along with host Stephanie Anthony Miles, who is the mother of three, meet Frances Trujillo, who is also the mother of three, a creator, artist, photographer, writer, and a horse lover. And Valerie Young, a military veteran, commander of the local East St. Louis Veteran of Foreign Affairs, mother of two, servant, leader, and a poet with an extensive criminal justice background. Stay tuned for Three Hearts with One Agape Purpose.
Welcome back to Smiles Television Talk Show. Three hearts, one agape purpose. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hey, how we doing today, Miss Stephanie?
I'm blessed, and just so grateful to have you guys with me today. Frances,
Thank you.
tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm mother of three, grandmother of two, a woman after God's own heart, and I love photography. I love people.
And Miss Valerie, tell us about yourself. Commander Valerie Young.
Thank you. That's not necessary, but thank you. My name is Valerie Young. I'm with the VFW. I'm the commander. I've been the commander for now 3 years. Military veteran, mother of two, 0 grandchildren, but I too love people, and I too am on a journey for God.
Wow, and I'm Stephanie Miles, and I'm the host of Smiles Television Talk Show. I'm a mother of three, and I love Jesus, and I love God's people, and I love people, and I'm asking God to make my heart bigger so I can love people more. How about that? So today we want to talk about parenting, and parenting today's youth. You know, is so much going on in our world. Let's just start with the basics. Generally speaking, how do you guys feel about what you see in terms of parenting and the results we see in our youth today?
Well, once again, I'm a parent of two. My son is a 10th grader at Althoff. My daughter is an 8th grader at Wyvetta Young School of Excellence. We call it WYSOE for short.
Okay.
With that, I've seen from the time I've been in school compared to the time they've been in school, a major generational change. The teaching, depending on the teachers, their age, their background, it can be straightforward, it could be the same. However, I feel like the education has been very modernized. They're kind of slowly doing away with the textbooks. So children are now doing everything digital or online. Also, when it came to the pandemic, they had to do things more virtual. Thus, it has been a rise in the mental health spike. That's what I've seen personally. But during that time, the COVID time, I was an investigator for DCFS. So believe it or not, abuse and neglect calls, it was a rise. It was a spike.
I can understand
During that time frame. And children have been diagnosed highly with certain mental illness socialization issues, suicidal ideations. So a lot have changed, and I saw how they've taken the cursive, the meat of it, if you will, out of school. Some people don't know how to do a signature these days.
Right, looks like foreign language to them. And Miss Francis.
Parenting. Parenting these days is rough.
Yeah.
You have a lot with the internet, with social media. You have a lot of things that our kids are exposed to that parents are either ignoring it and not addressing those in a healthy way at home, and they're going to school being educated by their peers. I have a senior right now in high school, and the women these days that are parenting, I tip my hat to you guys, because it has to be a struggle.
It is. I can remember, now my oldest child is actually 30 years old, but I can remember they wanted to get on these games early, and I would limit the amount of time. I said, I don't like the idea that you guys are spending that much time on computers and you're not interacting with each other. And honestly, today, you can see the results in the society in terms of what that technology has done. And we talk about schools. And in the next segment, everybody, we do have an educator coming on that's going to come in and talk about parenting in schools and things of that nature. But in the schools, the textbooks and what they're teaching our kids sometimes is horrendous to me. I don't know if you guys have seen that. But Francis, in your home, did you do what we call biblical parenting? You share the word with them as you walk along the way. You share the word with as you sitting at the table, or things of that nature.
The word was definitely on the table. Okay. However, I tried to help them use that in a healthy way at school, because you have to have a balance there. However, I didn't allow the school system to educate my children. I took the responsibility as a mother, very personal.
You were a parent.
I was a parent.
You were really a parent.
Yeah, so, whatever my kids struggled with at school, we addressed that at home, but we also, looked at it biblically. And I made sure that was something that was, like I said, always on the table. It was never off the table, especially, you don't know who's teaching your children.
That's right.
You don't know what that teacher believes. You don't know what children are being taught at home. I always said I was always the mother that was in those classes when they were teaching about sex ed or anything like that. I was the teacher, or I was the mother that was in the corner sitting while my daughter was embarrassed because but I needed to know what are you teaching about those subjects, because you can't always just I think we put all this pressure on teachers that it's their responsibility to teach these things, and if you're going in and allowing your children to be taught by a teacher 100%, I think you're failing yourself as a parent.
I understand. And I agree with that as well. Valerie, you want to chime in on this?
Yes, I would love to. As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. I think that's a huge mantra me and my household has always lived by. I'm a firm believer that the parents are the children number one's teachers. I do agree, Ms. Francis, we should not put that pressure on the teachers. However, it's kind of difficult when some parents don't have a level of education one would think about. It's kind of difficult when the parents are having literacy issues, comprehension themselves. It's kind of difficult for us to come into school these days. Back in the day, my parents used to, or relatives or a mentor used to come into the school building. Now we don't have that. I just want to constantly be hands-on with my children, but these days when we're doing that with our children think we are either the enemy, or we are nagging them, or we are embarrassed. This is not an embarrassment. We really want you to excel. And I think with the social media that's going on, with the education, it's kind of difficult to kind of lead that. My question is, are we losing as parents?
Wow, that's a good question. I do want to move this forward in a slightly different direction. When you look at your children today, and I don't know the ages, right, and you think back to all you poured into them, do you see the fruits of that in your own home?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Oh,
Okay,
yes.
and how so?
Well, I see the fruits through their actions, their mannerism, their characteristics. I don't just teach for them to, I don't want to be disrespectful. Okay, so when it comes to school, sometimes people think the kids are smart by what they produce on paper. Sometimes that's not true, because if the teacher's deliverance is not the best, then the children will not respond accordingly. Some children, let me say that. My children, if they get bad grades, and I'm talking about my children, it's because they made a conscious choice to get a bad grade. And that's a problem.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Did you want to share anything?
Yeah, so I do see the fruit of that. I would say that the world today would call me a not soft parenting parent.
Would you be a helicopter parent?
No.
Okay.
The word says that spare the rod, spoil the child. And that's not just, if you spare the rod, you spoil their spirit. And so I stuck firm to the word of God and stuck firm in the authority he's given me as a parent, and really stuck my feet in that. I didn't allow my children to come home and say, hey, Mom, my friend, that's fine that your friend is doing that, but this is how we're conducting our home. And my daughters at the time were like, Mom, you're so mean. You're so mean, my friends and my mom and their mom and this and that. But now that my daughter is 28 years old with two wonderful grandchildren, my grandchildren, I see my fruit. Trying to still allow them to adapt to society, but curve it to where it's like, how can we find Jesus in this moment?
And regarding the fruit of what we see, I will say I'm grateful that at least a couple of my children have come back and said, Mama, I'm so glad you taught us the Bible when we were younger. And no one is living perfect lives today, but at least their mindset, they had the seeds were planted, and their mindset today is leading them towards holiness, we pray. And that's the prayer for all of the children. Going forward, let me ask you this. When your kids were in like elementary school, okay, and they would say someone was teasing them or whatever, what did you teach your children? Did you teach them to hit them back? Did you teach them to talk back to them or go tell the teacher? What was your role?
This is a topic that severely needs to be addressed and acknowledged. I know when I was at school, we used to have school assemblies. We used to have pamphlets about bullying. And I believe in this generation, they call it the weaker and wiser generation. What makes them weak is they're too fragile with their emotional state. What makes it wiser is more like the social media, internet, AI situation. But kids are hurt. And unfortunately, sometimes it leads to suicide. In regards to me, it's levels to it, meaning, if someone talk about you, I tell my children here, hey, we're here to listen, learn, and get out. We're not here to entertain people. When it comes to their comments, if you feel that's severe enough, please talk to a teacher. Try to avoid them, walk away. I don't condone physical fighting, but if you're going to be attacked, you do have to defend yourself at all costs.
I understand.
Bullying. My daughter was bullied a couple of times. And you always try to raise them to do the right thing. You tell somebody if you're attacked, you defend yourself. However, it is an opportunity to teach them how to confront conflict. We are now have a society where they don't know how to confront conflict in a healthy way. So it was an opportunity for me to teach them that. I would always tell my daughters, in order to make friends, you be a friend. How can you friend that person? There's a reason why they're being a bully. There's something deeper than that. And I know that because I was bullied as a child. Growing up in an abusive home, you just kind of, I wore the word victim on my head. So that just, I was bullied. We grew up in a time where we handled bullying, if that makes sense. I did fight. So I didn't want my daughters to do that. I didn't want them to have to. My parents told me handle it. You know, my parents.
Are you from East St. Louis?
No, I'm from LA.
Okay.
But, you know, my parents told me different. I didn't want my daughters to do that because that hurt me inside. That made me tough. That made me look at people and you know, and not love in a loving way. And I didn't know how to, you know, confront conflict.
Well,
Throwing hands is not okay.
no, it is not okay, and I'm embarrassed to say, but I'm going to share real quickly. When I personally was in junior high school, I didn't start any fights, but you couldn't talk about me, and you couldn't talk about my friends because insecurities. You know, we all want to be liked, and I didn't understand that then. So if you talked about my friends, we were going to be fighting. My oldest brother would say, he would be coming home from school and say, they would say, Joel, your sister, no, there's a fight. He was like, who's fighting? He was like, your sister. So that was a regular thing. Okay, I'm not a bully or anything. I just defended myself, you know, just don't come for me. So
Wow.
that's how that was. And it's funny because other day I was talking to Valerie and she was telling me how when our conversation goes on, she's like, you're going to be able to stand up and help us flow well. I'm like, I'm not a little chump or anything. She said, well, you can't tell that. I said, no, just don't push me there. But ladies, you know, we have so much we could talk about. And this is our second broadcast. And we're going to go forward and continue this conversation, maybe even talk about some means of helping parents to solve some problems and to show how we did things to help our children. We weren't perfect. And all of our children didn't turn out perfectly well, but we all tried to give them Jesus and the teachings of the Bible. Yeah. And that's why we're three hearts with one agape purpose, right?
That's it.
Thank you for tuning in to Smiles Television Talk Show, Three Hearts, One Agape Purpose. And I'm just excited to continue this talk with you. And we'll be bringing you more. Remember, only what you do for Christ will last. And Jesus is the Lord be magnified.
Meet Tonji Stringfellow, a dedicated educator with more than 20 years of experience. She's an award-winning teacher trainer, professional development specialist, content developer, and curriculum specialist. Ms. Stringfellow has been nominated for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teachers, the Robin Kyles Science Trailblazer Award, the Initiative Teacher of the Year Award, and she is also recognized for her work in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Welcome back to Smiles Television Talk Show. I want to thank my guest in the first half of the broadcast, Miss Frances Trujillo and Commander Valerie Young. Three hearts, one agape purpose. And now, meet Tonji Stringfellow, an educator from St. Louis, Missouri, who has done magnificent work with the children in the St. Louis side. And now she has some national awards that she's going to tell us about. How are you, Tonji?
I am just wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, Tonji, it's good to see you. I'm going to tell a little brief story about Tonji. Tonji and I worked together over at Harris Stowe State College. And I've just have loved her ever since. She's been a genuine friend, and I thank God for you.
Thank you, Steph.
Tonji, you had a story you wanted to start off by telling, because we ended our first segment talking about bullying and parenting and things of that nature. Start off with your story.
Well, there's a story. I teach historically fourth grade.
Okay.
And kids have that problem with bullying. So there's a little story. I can't remember the author's name, but the story's called Enemy Pie. And I love this little story because it's about a boy who's being bullied. And what his dad encourages him to do is to make a pie for this little friend of his. And he makes a pie out of potato chips, Fritos, different things that he likes. And he takes them to him, and the two became friends. So I like to share that story when kids feel like they're being bullied. Instead of fighting, you know, there are other ways to handle a bully. Because I've learned over the years that most of the students are being bullied because they're hurt. And hurting people hurt other people. And kids have a tendency to be proactive. So if it's happened in their past, they're going to find someone to victimize because they've been a victim. And it just goes on. It's a continuing cycle. So we'll see that a lot.
Okay, Tonji, you have such a soothing voice. I must say that to you.
Thank you.
Tonji, tell us about the recent award, Project Lead the Way. You've been named number one for that project in the state of Missouri.
I'm excited. I am one of the finalists for the Presidential Award for the national, and this also is a national level award. Project Lead the Way is a STEM program in schools, and this year I was able to bring our school on board with their launch program, doing a lot of work, teaching children real world experiences, aviation, different topics, biomed, computer science, and project-based learning. And as a result of my work with them, I've been named as an outstanding teacher for the 25-26 school year, and it's across their program is across the nation.
Well,
so
glory
I'm
to
excited
God.
about that.
Oh, wonderful that is, Tonji. And you also have children. Tell us about your children.
I do. I have adult children now.
They're
so
not
I
kids
just say
anymore.
they're not kids anymore. And I raised my children as a single parent, going through school, in college. I remember taking my children to school with me after school. I mean, when they would get out of school, they would have to come to classes with me and sit in the back and draw pictures while I got my education, because that was my path. And I knew it was important because prior to that, I had nothing to fall back on. So I had a baby, and I looked at my daughter one day and I thought, if they fired me today, then what would I do? And where would I work? And what kind of, what would I provide for my daughter as a single parent? We all make mistakes.
You mentioned being a single parent, and that happens quite a bit in our society today. What do you think about two-parent families, families where the mom and dad are home? How important, as opposed to being a single parent, is that? Or share your insights in that area.
I believe that is really important. I believe God's order. He wants the parents together. And I think that's ideal for children. But the reality now is that a lot of our kids are coming from broken homes. And I was always taught, my parents broke up when I was probably 10. And I remember my dad saying, kids have to have one good parent, one strong parent, one solid parent. And they called me old-fashioned. Well, call the Bible old-fashioned, because I'm going to raise my children in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord.
Yes.
And I thought that was powerful, even though I wanted to be a rebel. And here he comes all day long, Jesus and the Bible, and showing me. But I knew that he was on to something. And I knew that Jesus' name alone deserved respect and honor. And when he told my brothers that he's going to use the rod of correction. He says, because God says, if I use the rod, I'm going to deliver your soul from hell. So it's time for your soul to be delivered. And I thought, we laugh at that, but that was really true. It's like my dad put the fear of God in my brothers. I was raised with boys, and my brothers did good things. They turned out differently, being raised by a single father. We didn't have a mother, so I grew up without the mom in home. So I was raised by my dad, my uncle, and brothers.
That is so interesting, in talking about being disciplined and things of that nature. Today we see the parents want to just put them in timeout, and I believe in talking with children. I believe in sharing things with them, but I believe that there's an order to things as well. So let's talk about boundaries that are developed in the home, and how with boundaries that helps the child, and how without the boundaries, I've even read that with no boundaries, children don't even feel like they're loved.
We talk about trauma a lot, and the research has shown that children that experience high levels of trauma need structure. discipline. It makes them feel safe. As opposed, I remember reading somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, it's an article where a child, they were doing some research on a parent, and the child felt that the parent didn't love him. And his response was, because they let me do whatever I wanted to do. So there was no boundary. So the child grew up not feeling loved. Structure is good. Kids need that structure, and they want it. Being a teacher, that's what I do. I create a very structured environment. My principal's always saying her classroom is very, very structured, because they need that. They want to know what's happening next. It makes them feel safe when they're structured. They know what's going to happen, and it's dealing with their trauma as well. And so my kids do exceptionally well every year, and those are some of the reasons why. Able to get around and teach them things that I know they need, values. I'm not putting different values on them, but values such as teamwork.
Gotcha.
Learning how to get along with each other. Sharing in the classroom, what that looks like. And taking those caring, those characteristics, and just really building their characters, helping them become inside strong, helping them understand what to do with their emotions. Is it my job? No, but it is.
Right.
Because if I'm going to affect the whole child, then they need to understand that there's a life outside of the classroom, and to make those decisions. And kids have to know how. So somebody has to guide.
You said helping them stand strong on the inside. I love that. I remember when my children were young, I took them to a class. It was karate class. And the teacher said, I want you to learn to clap when you want to clap. Smile when you want to smile. Get angry because you want to, not because your crowd and the people are encouraging you in that direction. So I love that. In previous conversation with you, you mentioned how it is so important that parents don't provoke their children to wrath, and the importance of children respecting that scripture.
Oh, I am a Christian. I am a strict believer in the word. I have conversations about this a lot. Parents, children, obey your parents in the Lord. Ephesians 6:1. Because this is right. It's the first commandment with a promise. In doing so, your days upon the earth shall be long. And we go on down. And then there's a scripture that says right behind it, parents, don't provoke your children to wrath. So when you think about that holistically, parents have a responsibility. And I'm going back to something my dad shared with me. He asked the question at our table, why do you think God wanted the children to obey the parents? Because he expects the parents to raise them right, according to his word and his way. And I believe that. I carried that with me in raising my children. Okay, I'm going to raise you. I'm going to train you up, because it's my responsibility. So I had to do something as a parent. I had to go to the Lord and seek him for his direction. And so in just looking at the fruit of the Spirit, what is love and temperance and long suffering, meekness, and how does that relate to the real world? So the real world, we have values, being kind to each other, loving on each other, being patient with one another. And when kids don't have that, they just kind of go astray. So I never wanted to be that person that was responsible for mine going astray. It's like, let me train them the correct way. And now that they're adults, it's not on me anymore. I trained them, but they make good decisions.
But even as adults, even though they're adults, they still need our wisdom, so to speak, and they still need some guidance, because we have experienced some things that they have yet to have to go through. I do want to know from you, what experiences have you had dealing with parents in the school, and how or have you been able to share your insights with them and help lead them in a better direction for their children?
What I'm seeing now, after a whole lot of years, decades of doing this job, our generation, again, is becoming weaker. Some of them are a little wiser. But the parents, I'm seeing that they don't know. A lot of our parents, they just don't know. Something has been happening from generation to generation to generation that's causing them to not understand. So I see a lot of parents saying, but I don't know what to do. It's like, he's 9 years old. What do you mean? Make him sit down. Tell him to sit down. But the lack of reading. Reading does more than just help students learn. It helps them focus. It helps them become disciplined. It helps them become good listeners if somebody's sitting there reading for 10 minutes. So just getting into, for me personally, I invite the parent into it as well. It's like these are some things that you can do to help the kid, but try to make it, because adults don't want to say they can't. So I just kind of find ways to incorporate.
I understand. You have a couple of other projects going on outside of the education, outside of the schools. Anything that you would like to share?
Well, I am a mentor. I do mentoring. And in January, we're going to put a new spin on it. So I'm excited about that. And I do host STEM academies and sub-tutoring. There's a lot of things that I do.
Well, Tonji, I want to thank you for coming to Smiles Television Talk Show. Will you please give our parents and the children some lasting words of encouragement?
If I can encourage the parent, I'll say, train your child up. Get your help. Seek professionals, seek wisdom, and it's okay. It's okay to not know. That's what learning is all about. No one knows everything, and sometimes we don't know what we don't know. But if your kid is having a problem, there are counselors in schools, there are social workers, there are other teachers that can lend support. There are professionals that are willing to help, because again, once we make a strong kid, that's good for our society. So this goes back to that kid belonging to all of us. We want to raise a healthy child.
Well, Tonji, thank you so very much. God bless you. God keep you. And when you come back to Smiles TV, you get the opportunity.
Will do.
Okay. I got you on camera. You said.
Will do.
Thanks again, Tonji. Well, we're going to wrap up another Smiles Television Talk Show. I want to thank Tonji Stringfellow and Francis Trujillo and Commander Valerie Young. Parenting today's youth can be difficult, but we know the family is very and of the utmost importance for our country, for our world. So parents, don't provoke your children, and children, obey your parents. Remember, only what you do for Christ will last, and Jesus is the Lord. The Lord be magnified.
The Smiles Television Talk Show wants to showcase your business, organization, church, and activities. If you have an interest in being a guest on Smiles Television Talk Show, or if you have any show ideas, contact Stephanie Anthony Miles at smilestv777@gmail.com. You may also call 618-741-3770. Tell your friends to subscribe to the Smiles YouTube channel. Let Smiles TV increase your reach. Remember, you look better with smiles. IDEX Media does a lot. From IDEX Photography to IDEX Films. We help create forever memories and forever impressions. Imagination, image a world. IDEX Media.
Awesome sauce. Yeah, baby.